Ghana there, South Africa ought not to touch a Ghanaian. They ought not to. A human Okromon, you can say and you can say lazy. If a human Mozambique, a human Namibian, a human Congolese, a human Nigerian, a human Ghanaian, a minor jobber, a labor, because they will not do it. Because the Ghanaian will go and hire a room and rent a room, apartment, and live in an apartment. South Africans are living in ghetto, in Soweto. It is then the government now tells them that it is not the government that is not creating the jobs, but more jobs, South Africa, Brunei, or companies, unfair Juma, South Africa, okay. Okay. It's a better Nigerian, or better Congolese, or better Ghanaian, and I'll be in the way, or better South African. Look at some foolish. I'm sorry to use the word. Funny visa agreement to be a new Muye. Although South Africa needs to be Kumha, or do airport, migration man in 90 days, or timidity 90 days, on the 90th day, no Togo, no Aquadan, no Flower, no Sabi, within 90 days. They didn't grant us the same thing. They are using the system. Why can't we do the same thing? So they are claiming that Obia Juma, Jobia, and woman and Pejuma. That Paka is legal. When Mamma South African gets Okroma, for cantonments, Papa South African gets Okroma. Find out. Omo Kroma, that's Roman paying for down what the danger Omuari woman. Yeah, for airport. Woman and days in this one. No, Mapi, I actually know a Sababi room. That's Ghana migration. How much will be? There be. Are they? Monkwame at them.
Sadi yentimi ensiano na yenya kwan befa so a ebeba wie.
Answer is no. No, nobody can solve the issue of South Africa. And then a xenophobic attack unleashed all the time on innocent African citizens. These countries, namely Ghana, Nigeria, Zimbabwe, Namibia, Mozambique, Congo, the other African countries. All these countries, we made West South Africa today that they have a government called ANC government. Shamefully, very shamefully, the South African regime, the South Africa political offices under the government of ANC only used these boys to harass foreigners, to cover their inefficiencies, to cover their inabilities, to cover all the promises that all of us, you and I, hope we said, come and gather out. 1990, come first black African president, 1994, leading from 1994 to today. They have not done and operated even 5 to 10% of what the whites developed South Africa. Shamefully, into their frustration, they all the time use when an issue of unemployment comes to bear on the government. Then they go through the back line, then they go through behind and push these boys foolishly for them to unleash pressure on innocent people, including Ghanaians. Papa, anything. When Mandela was released from jail in 1990 at the age of 71 until 75 when he was in 1994 before Sobe first president, the 5-year mandate, Mandela couldn't do much because at 27 years in jail. What did he do? He did his best. There was certain institutions open up. There was nothing he could have done because of the apartheid system, any racial segregation. That he needed now to infuse the administrative and the system with the blacks. In 21-year developmental project, 21-year employment issue. What about Tama of Fihoe? Or in a 5-year term, no 80 years. The man was tired. So he saluted South Africans. And don't forget, sir, the L.W. de Klerk, who ironically is one of the most peaceful presidents ever. I would break it down, abolish the apartheid. I will mean a whole backlash from the Western world, including the British, including the Hollands, including the almost Europeans and everybody. Starting with Jai. But the man wanted peace. He realized it was too much. And what he said. Mandela made him a vice president against the wish of even the white supremacist parties. Or your vice president from 1994 to 96. He had 2 vice presidents with Thabo Mbeki. So when he, after 2 years, the pressure from the whites in the Mono and a crack, set it aside, leaving Thabo Mbeki as the main vice president, called the deputy president of South Africa. Mandela free or the Thabo Mbeki. How long did it take? Just under 5 years. Just under 5 years now, Mandela Koya and Thabo Mbeki's regime registered the first xenophobic attack on foreigners. Who are the foreigners? The first people they were killing was Mozambicans. Papa, let me tell you. You mentioned international. What is the name? International relations expert. No, I'm a diplomatic consultant. So we have done practical diplomacy and diplomatic history of the world. Let me tell you, when the ANC, where did they have 3 offices? They were having offices. Even in Ghana, they had a strategic hub. That's how they were calling their offices when South Africa apartheid was chasing them. They had a strategic office. In Ghana, they had a strategic office. In no country than what? Mozambique. And they have what is called the targeted presence in Mozambique. They had a relationship with the Frelimo movement. At that time, Frelimo was also branded like ANC, so only a terrorist. By the West, by the South African apartheid system. The same thing as Zimbabwe, ZANU-PF. They were also branded as thieves and criminals, and also what? Because of the alliance with ANC. The same thing as SWAPO, Southwest African People's Organization, Sam Nujuma. They were also branded as criminals and terrorists with ANC. Because these were the countries. Now, South Africa, ANC, which then before then was South African Native National Congress. It wasn't ANC, it was a stand. All these parties, established a political party that they could not keep in the Cape Town. Teaming for office in town. Which country gave them an official visit, official office? And Mozambique, Frelimo, when Samora Machel became the first president, Mozambique, what happened? Because of South Africa, because of ANC. Look at what they did to the man. They assassinated him. When the Russians even wanted him not to step South Africa. He went there and they killed him. Because of how he allowed what? The ANC to have an office, strategic office. And then in 1981, when Bota was there, they went to Mozambique, poor country at the time, vandalizing Maputo, they killed more than 200 people because they were looking for the South African ANC members who were holding themselves, housing themselves, also in South Africa, in Mozambique. Now, such a country, our first president, called Samora Machel, under the time of Mandela Mugum, Walter Sisulu, Oliver Tambo, Rosanna, Litoli, all these people when they were even running around the world, because apartheid system was looking for them, like the Israeli Mossad looking for you to kill. Mozambique, South Africa, Mandela, they targeted Samora Machel and asked him, he should bring them out. One year, Buzini, or South Africa, Lumumba province, or mountain. After our meeting with South Africa, they killed him. And then the man Mandela, out of sympathy, the third wife, Samora Machel, Winnie Mandela Jayano, because of what Mandela they valued. He valued what Samora Machel and the Mozambique people did for South Africa. He went to marry the widow of Samora Machel, even though he was too old to be anything with the woman. So I'm marrying you to give you the confidence and the comfort which your husband gave to us. Now, Papa, then the Kudu said, Mozambique be a first target. What about Zimbabwe? The ZANU-PF party of Robert Mugabe and co. At that time, the Southern Rhodesia, they gave South Africa, these ANC people, a seat, an office, and also another strategic hub. What about Namibia? That time, Sam Nujuma, they were all running around. Because that time Namibia was part of South African colony. And then they had the political party. So the ZANU-PF in Zimbabwe, SWAPO in Namibia, and then Frelimo in Mozambique. All this, except Zambia, Lusaka, for and I know my reserve. The front line says, these are countries, South Africa, for such a xenophobic attacks, after they get their own, call it self-determination, black president.
Okay.
Now let's talk to Ghana. Ghana, Mandela, Winnie Mandela, Oliver Tambo, Walter Sisulu, Albert Dube, and all those. They use Ghana passport. They were using Ghana passport to travel around.
Now, when you use South Africa passport.
Who will give them? There were 3 acts in South Africa. They have what is called the Land Act. The Land Act did not allow any black man to own a land in South Africa. 80%, 87% of the entire country, land was only for whites and then other races, Indians.
Okay.
So blacks were not allowed. And they have what is called the Group Areas Act. The Group Areas Act also has to do with racial segregation. We a group we say passport. And then they had the Racism Act. Most of that one also, they were not allowed. They were qualified as a race. Into a woman around that time, they were described as race. It did not offer passport to him. So the ANC leaders didn't have passport. So they were traveling with Ghana passport. They were traveling with Nigeria passport. They were traveling with Mozambique passport. When Samuel Mashe became the president, he gave all of them passports to enable them to travel. But after Anna Mandela, them, Nasa Ghana, or volunteer, Monko GBC, Ghana, Monko said, one GBC, in the 90s, in the 70s, in the 80s, they allocated 2-3 hours for South Africa only to play apartheid music, anti-apartheid music, war songs for the ANC. 2 hours across the African continent, Nigeria, Ghana, Benin, all the countries were just crying for them. And it was a command. I know me in they fighting for I said the voices must be heard. One in UN. Ghana was the country that went to the UN General Assembly and declared a passport to Kwan Kosa Kurunuto. Bantu choose land. It was in our passport. Go and ask passport office. Ghana declared a protest, the first country in Africa, not to allow Ghanaian citizens to go there under the apartheid system. Whereas we maintain even a diplomatic relation. They were not allowing Ghanaians to go there. We didn't want to. It's a protest. And I say, you can't say country we. I did Ghana for in South Africa. 75 to 80% of Ghanaians were South Africa, even including graduates from Moho, except more medical fields. Omaka will get hairdresser and when he needed
70% of Ghanaians are South Africa hairdressers no more.
We are money will be a hairdresser. Coach me everywhere. Homework company bay. Company bay no mu. Then came Nigerians. The Nigerians' accusation by the South African youth of the ANC tax, any day. Omo mano alata fa wari womu. And woman who said, you have Range Rover at the ma oba. And only woman Niger or your business kaba. South Africa man who for cocoa, yet to a $3 camera. And the Nigerian men started spending money on them. Now South Africa ni them what drinking spot or no inside the whole day. Or to Soweto or no inside the whole day. But what they say about now say my ukrum unyabi and that. So when the Nigerians came into the system, I started to be a shops. I didn't shop in Nigeria for phone shops. Yes, or on the business of the phone shops. And Tadia, any sign man. How does that one take away from a job? I don't know here. Women vandalizing Nigerians to the sense of about pregnant woman. They cut her stomach alive and put the baby and kill her. The Nigeria want to say, Buhari issued ultimatum and asked the South African diplomat to leave immediately. And the Nigerians were strict. They started vandalizing South African installations and then even the embassy. And the more we Nigeria for attack. Ghana was not. We've been quiet. We've not been part. How can you fight with one Ghanaian over your girlfriend? How can a South African girl go to a Ghanaian saloon and claim say why did their party 3 days about if they don't give them, that is what caused for the boys to come to vandalize and kill them. Is that sense? It's senseless. Look, South Africa, you don't know what?
Radio XYZ.
On the continent of Africa, South Africa and Ethiopia, they have the worst residential visa reforms, and I say visa status for foreigners. Very discriminative. And then very appetite now. The same appetite now. Racial segregation visa protocols. For South Africa, resident permit. This is the country in Africa, or more than 20 times, 20 different kind of resident permits. The idea shoe shine. The idea room chancing. The idea hairdressing. The idea way. The idea skilled labor. The idea unskilled labor. The idea marriage. The idea to your friends and civil relations. Different, and all of them so expensive, and they make you look like just the same way the apartheid the whites treated them. It is a way of South African. We are Ghanaian, our South Africa. And you have the African Union, your right of stay, and your right of work, and your right of residence. Ghana in South Africa, not for Sika today, so it could be a business for her. They look at the stats and tell you, say, Yadama hairdresser certificate, that's a residence. It is residence, and every 6 months, be a papa now could get $1,000. This is how they treat them. Who did it? Is that about, is that your friend, FD Clark, a butter, a pig butter, and a Italian? The ANC, Papa, ever since that Mandela left the scene, I've said that he couldn't have done any development because of the tiredness and the fatigue, and because of the system, the institutions, you know, that's what fixed it.
And in a protest, na cause no, and Tiasiana South Africa for our, you know, Woni, Anabwa Pio.
And I'm sure, sir, whenever they are confronted, the government of ANC since Thabo Mbeki, Jacob Zuma, Cyril Ramaphosa, who had been also used Ghana passport before. When they are confronted by the youth, because a human okromo, you can say comfort, and you can say lazy. It's a human Mozambique, a human Namibia, a human Congolese, a human Nigerian, a human Ghanaian, a minor jobber, a labor, because they will not do it. Because the Ghanaian will go and hire a room and rent a room, apartment, and live in as an apartment. South Africans are living in ghetto, in Soweto.
Okay.
It is then the government now tells them that it is not the government that is not creating the jobs, but more jobs, you know. South Africa, Brunei, or companies, you know, unfair Juma, South Africa,
okay.
Or Juma,
okay.
It's a better Nigerian, or better Congolese, or better Ghanaian, and Nabi in the way, or better South Africa, Sadak. Only a Sadak nation to ECOWAS, in Zambia and Timko Juma. For a unit to Namibia, Timko Juma, Mozambique, Juma. So they are claiming that Odia Juma, Jobian, woman and Pejuma. So therefore, the ANC regime shamefully, because they are underperforming, they push these boys to create a political story.
Nessa Akata Omu inability so.
It is like that because since Mandela left the scene, since 1994, 32 years up to today, the total output input are black African president, ANC government, and they are called South Africa developmental input up put everything together. It's not up to 7%.
Nese can South Africa develop say na no
Bakukra including the airport. Bakukra no ANC na the road the crack me and South Road they develop the whole country. There's the whole road network.
There's a bad leadership in Africa syndrome na account mo dada.
And yes, account they are bad. And you see why sometimes Africa would deserve to be slaved. I'm sorry. Because of some of these things. Our president was at the podium trying to push a resolution. But this is where we have to go. This resolution must be seen in hope, our home in Africa. Ethiopia, under the House of the African Union. Call Ethiopia and cover the visa regime. Congress will compare resident permit to Ethiopia. The West in Africa. And you want to hear the headquarters of Addis Ababa, OAU. Again, Omaka. Have you heard the African Union will be in South Africa for be? Don't they know what the South Africans are doing? How long and how many times have any ANC government taken the bold step, telling the police that you can't allow this? Anytime police are involved, women started the route. How many times I'm called Ghanaian neighborhood, the airport area there, I'm called raging for you. The police for Ghana for television.
Radio XYZ.
Nessa, the omu ye nyina na say one ono no adwuma na ye de mana onye wonko enti employer no kra wonfa no ofa foreigner no so abuei
because omu kra no ono South Africa ni be bia na dwene no orientation say e se kromo ni ba na ye adwuma enti omu blacks no e man na ye adwuma.
Okay,
South African girls na ye adwuma omu de o kitchen bibia wo be show me ye adwuma ogeni sika na obepon no nwere no obepon na be man susu gina gate wo oba be fana ku jana no pa ku jana no nwere no abefa no because omu man sabi that is what they know omu ni bia they were enclaved. They were enslaved oni babia enti be man na wo kroma petesini no sabi onu an wo fa no enti na no omanya beti wo hu se mdi Ghana ni achi a bitishu ma hu se mdi Ghana ni achi a yan kwan ko ti. Can you imagine? Are you aware that South Africa, the only black country in Africa, only native citizens, only the food, only native food. You know, fufu, you are abelema, you are deba, you are kodale. South Africa said you are ganum. How about for the same to my bibia? And the only thing they know is only sugar related.
Okay.
And yes, sugar, and now your friends saying bread in this Anyamana. South Africa native food. They be all. That the woman Nigeria near to Nubuase, when you're South African, you call my baby. Now I hear a goosey, no, I hear a bat. Yes, he beat a 2 months. Papa, then walk back.
What ya can so?
Other than walk back.
Radio
On
XYZ.
too quiet that South Africa need to me your passport. Nigeria need your passport, $100. So, man, I did your chat ticket at the Naba Abuja. One chair play with that. Papa, better not change that.
A fly in the call.
That Paka is legal.
Radio
When how
XYZ.
many South African gets Oklahoma? For cantonments. For South African gets Oklahoma. Find out.
Yeah. Okay.
Oklahoma. But Oklahoma paying for extra what than danger.
But equal reaction and yes solution to this. Say South Africa for be a Ghana ni be a harassing no one tibia Nigeria ni be swagger or no so be harassing a crew.
No. Nigeria do it to my Ghana. That is not our style. But the Ghana style of the diplomatic approach is what is for me. I'll say is very poor. And honorable Okuja to my good friend Samuel, if you're listening or anybody listening, tell him that the approach is too slow. They should let the South African mission. They should the South African embassy take this, using this particular, because Ghana there, South Africa ought not to touch a Ghanaian. They ought not to. Look at some foolish, I'm sorry to use the word, funny visa agreement to be a new
Radio
Although South Africa need to be Kumha, Odu Airport, immigration man in 90 days, or to meet 90 days, on the 90th day, no Togo, no Aquadan, no Afla, no Asabe, within 90 days. They didn't grant us the same thing. They did not grant the same thing. I think Ghanaian was South Africa. And what team 90 days. 90 days in the Beswan. What team run Namibia visa free. No Aquadan who 2 days, no Asabe, no Abaji 90 days, and what it's in the baby. South Africa, cumulative 90 days per annum. What does it mean? Diplomatically, the Ghana Minister of Foreign Affairs 2 years ago, they didn't understand.
No, sir. I don't know here. Sepedi or no visa now or granted. Yeah, the
it's reciprocal.
Radio XYZ.
Visa waiver is the same thing.
Okay.
Either waiver or no waiver. Either visa free or no visa free. God I've given you, give me back. That is what diplomacy talks about. And the mama visa free for 90 days. Every 90 days, South African citizen can come and spend in Ghana 90 days. South Africa go beyond the 90 days. Regularize your resident permit and now regularize your extension. That is the international law. The year the end year, because South Africa, let me do 20 days. No system I record. We do 1 month. No system I record. Into within a year, 90 days. I'm not allowed to enter there again unless I now go to the embassy to apply for visa. What kind of agreement is that? How would they respect you?
Sesia Kase Krano, maybe to say Zambia, ne for Barbados, ye approve free visa. Our Monday will be a mass will be to me Abagana.
Papa Barbados, Trinidad and Tobago, Dominica, Antigua and Bermuda,
Radio
Texas and Caicos, how do you call it? Jamaica, and then you have Dominican Republic, Dominica, Antilles, Martinique, Française, Martinique, Holland. All those countries except Dominican Republic. I already any Texas and Caicos in some few countries. You know there's a free pact for several years since independence.
Okay.
You don't know, including Jamaica.
Radio
The only country free move are the island in near Cuba. But when you go to even the South Pacific, Vanuatu, Fiji, Papua New Guinea, and we also have the same design. We are black. And we are part and parcel of the ANC, the ACP, African Caribbean Pacific Forum, 80 block of the black nations of the world. We're supposed not to travel there and be taking visas here or visas there.
Okay.
That is what we have to resolve.
Okay. This is here the air say ano brasimpa ye ohwa ebesaba South Africa juma aban juma so ye and now we ensure san eniema fun we say
police state. They have one of the best police system communication. Their police is based on the ideals of the British and then the Holland police system and then a part of India. Their network is very strong. It's not different from European police. They know where every bad boy stays. They know how all the fights originate. They know when they originate. Papa, demonstration, a protest to unleash pressure or to kill aliens in your country does not start just one time. No, 1 million euro. No, the bad boys will start from the downtown, Johannesburg. And when they are coming, it is a formation. Where is the South African police? When they have videos, you know, when they now become a large, none of them, they are all junkies, they are all criminals, they are all bad boys. Papa, now, Oko attack will be so you money for now.
There be senior okwa maybe a way or cofanema. Stone me
the tense the police project no ma ko bi fie ya bo Ghana for ya bo Nigeria for no ma so afraid ne pa me no no so afraid no me dey call. It's not so insane. And then a police for near woman. So it is the breed, one breed, the fault of ANC and the pretenses of ANC
Radio
and then Ashahan of ANC and the matter animal also. So they don't give any hood, they don't care about anybody. And anytime, Jacob Zuma time, when you 2 times 3, Ramaphosa, this is the 3rd time, shamefully, but he called himself a black elite. What has he done to stop this issue?
Okay.
Sarah, what has he done to stop this issue? So Ghana, please, your president, your excellency, you went to UN and you was able to push for a resolution which has never been done in the world before. This is the fight for you, President Mahama. This is the fight. This is what you have to call South African ambassador to order. Don't leave it with Tony or Nabu. It's a presidential affair for him to order. That Ghana has helped you before. Without Ghana, ANC wouldn't have been maybe where they are. Without Mozambique, they wouldn't have been there. Without Zimbabwe, they wouldn't have been there. So if we are speaking at the international forum, talking about recognition of the slave trade, there should be a recognition of South African apartheid. How we fought against that one. There should be a recognition by ANC, how they are treating the African nationals. This is what we are talking about.
Okay. Sani enquire President Mahama nkwa other Africa countries now, almost social citizens.
Leave them. Nobody deals with nobody. They don't want Gabon countries. I've been a diplomatic advisor to Gabonese President Odimba. Asked me Honorable Serge, who was the Ghana foreign minister. I've been the president of the. He didn't want to do anything. He thought was Gabonese. What about South Africa? We have a problem. Deal with it.
Okay.
Even Paubia, the old man, he told Cameroonians, because a lot of Cameroonians in South Africa, Blackfontein area, and in Limpopo area, he told them, so no issue with South Africa, deal with it, Cameroon will not come to their aid. And that's, sorry to use this reference, that they behave animalistically. That's the term of Paubia used at the time, when they also attacked Cameroonians. Okay. Which African country has not spoken and cried at the African Union and their friends there, all our forums? Either ECOWAS, either SADC, either AEC, either the Maghreb Union, either the Central African Union. Which one of them has not demonstrated, protested their appetite? How do you treat their citizens like that? It's a global village. South African gets on them chroma, resident permit to be in the chroma. Yeah, for airport. Days in this one, no mappy, I actually know a Sababi room. That has Ghana migration. How much will be?
There be.
They are using the system. Why can't we do the same thing? To the extent, say, 2 years ago, before Somebody visa waiver, useless visa free now near one. They introduced a visa, say Ghana and Libya across South Africa. Move airport, have your bank statement. Now imagine, say what's that plane. Now I call you South Africa. You only there 3 hours. Flight next year, 5. 3 o'clock we're Ghana, I say 2 o'clock. Papa now it's the airport. Now we China will Eco Bank statement now. Now South Africa mind, ANC mind. Young Fair Eco Bank, now manager, from Ben Adbert, the Nipa 240 passenger go play. What the play will be a bank, SCCA, and there's one woman. It's not foolishness.
Then say ANC, say Malima di Guamuswa, I know Dima
Radio XYZ.
Papa, he's a Pan Africanist, and he knows the country that supported. He has never been in support of any of the xenophobic attacks.
Okay.
He's never been in support. Bobia Mijin Woyao, Jacob Zuma, Bobia Mijin Woyao, and Thabo Mbeki. Because you Thabo Mbeki under President Kufuor a stand, Olusegun Obasanjo time, Muammar al-Gaddafi time, Festus Mogae, any other African president. You Thabo Mbeki, you were part and parcel of the countries that signed for the African free entry. Right of living, right of business. Under his watch.
Radio
5 years.
XYZ.
Just a year after Nelson Mandela, they started experiencing this. What about Jacob Zuma, who was a Zulu fighter, who was an ANC fighter?